Well, hi, my name is Dee Gillette Cox, and I'm here to show you how to paint this step by step. All my techniques, all the gorgeousness right here for you. So, buckle up, my hearties. We're going to get painting. How exciting! Is everybody excited because it's rocks and rivers time? I am. So, this is the image I have chosen. I did try to attach it as a PDF to the Patreon page so that everybody could print it out. And for some reason I wasn't able to do that. I'm going to have another go. So I love this image because it's dramatic, because the colour palette is limited. I've obviously mucked around with nature a bit and made it lean towards purple. Just because these are the colours here doesn't mean that's all we'll be doing on here, but it's a nice neutral starting point. Let's get started. Now, you know that I always say ad nauseum that your painting can only be wrong in 4 places, and those 4 places are line, tone, colour and edge. That applies right from the beginning. So what I have here is a dirty purple ground. I mixed my colour with gesso because you want it to have that lovely strong stick to your canvas. So gesso is undercoat. We always need to start with undercoat. Just this time I coloured it because I wanted that tone on my canvas to start with. So the tone is what I want to start with, but it's just one tone. So if we start line, tone, colour and edging, we have no lines anywhere and we have one tone. So without even considering colour and edge, we know we've got errors there. What I want to do is first just get the barest bones of a drawing down. So I want to look at these gross shapes coming down So this is the gap between the 2 rock faces where the light is coming through. In the photograph there's some lovely light just here reflecting down off that. I will make much more of that than there is in the photograph. There is a kind of a water level about there, and there is a rock face here coming up. Now it's not quite in the middle of that dark area, it's a bit closer to there. So rock face coming up, it kind of goes off that way, and then there's a little bit comes off here. Alright, I don't need to know much about that just yet, and I don't need to know anything at all about down here. Oh, I kind of do actually, because I was focusing on the light I need to bring in there, and I was forgetting about the structure I need to bring here. So let's have that giant rock. And let me warn you now, people, how easy it is to underdraw the size of a rock. It is ridiculously hard to get them the size that they need to be. Little marks like here, I've got these 2 rocks are almost at the same height and they kind of bleed into each other, so I'm going to raise that one so that they are distinct, not the shapes bleeding into each other. Making executive decisions right from the start. Okay, that's over there. Now there's a lot of rocks in the middle here that are going to stop my view of the reflected light coming down, so I'm going to leave those ones out. Got that. Got a couple of rocks here. You notice I'm drawing with angular lines. Is that a rock or a hole? Yeah, it's a rock. So I'll have that one in there. I'm going to miss out the ones in the middle. That comes down there, and I'll exaggerate the difference here. I am drawing with willow charcoal, not with compressed charcoal. Compressed charcoal comes in a pencil basically, or a shaped stick with writing on the side. Willow charcoal looks like a twig because it is a twig. That's the kind to draw with, because what you don't want happening is big solid black lines that you can't get off your canvas. So here, just need to know where that big face comes across there. That I can sort out later. I think I'm good. I think that's enough drawing for now. So you all see how little I drew, yeah? Of course, classic D, I have now just found one more thing that I want to get in there. So there's a sort of a triangular shape there. Now, I don't need to understand, really, what any of these things are at this point. I'm just following the jigsaw and getting them in there. All right, so now we have some line. What's next is tone. We have one tone. We need more tones than that. I'm going to stencil some light in here. Now I have the landscape set, and I think perhaps I have an extra couple as well, because the landscape set is only 5. Oh, I have this extra one that's available in the open access section. That's one of the landscape ones. So is that. Whoops, don't throw them on the floor. Man, I love these new stencils so much. All right, I think that's all the landscape set there. So in addition, who knows, I think this one's from the yacht set, and I think that's an open access pattern one, and I'm not actually sure where that one sits. I mean, I try and keep on top of this stuff, but Marissa's doing it now, and it is so wonderful to not have to think about it. So what I want first is this one, which is P-STO-002 or 002. So what I want for this one is I want to think about the bright greens that I'm going to want in here for the ferns. So after this stage, it'll be a colour rub. And I know if I try and do bright green colour rub on top of purple, it's not going to be bright green. So I need to add some light in all of the areas where I want lighter colours to end up. So I'm just going to move my tape around so it's not a great big masking tape solid line. Put a bit of a wiggle in it. Now I'm going to be going in there. So the tape is on this side of the line that I drew. And I want some half and half. So half chroma acryl gesso and half chroma acryl texture paste. If you're in a different country and you don't have access to chroma products, make sure you read the label, because you don't want a texture paste that dries shiny and clear. You want one that dries matte and either opaque or semi-transparent, not entirely transparent. Now this stencil is small down this end and big down this end. So I've got to think, what's going to happen here with the foliage? Is there a difference? And there is. As we move up and away from us as the viewer, the shapes get smaller. So going to start right up here with the small end of the stencil. And fill it up like that. Now I want bigness down here. Trying to get a really solid edge here and a much looser edge on this side of my shape. Come in here with some wee ones. I apologise for the way my body blocks the view. I wish there was something I could do about it. Okay, so in here, just solidify that a bit more against that edge. You don't need to be there. And I want it a bit looser, I think, out into there. That's too much of a hard edge. That's better. So I hardly put the stencil down at all. Most of that was done with just the muck on the back of the stencil. All right, happy with that. Do I want this texture anywhere else? Probably, but I'm not going to do it now because I've got texture paste all over the back and I don't want it going where I don't want it going. My way. And this little bit of mess here really doesn't matter. It's rocks. So now what I want to do is think about the big directions that I can see and also the idea of my hero. So I'm going to make sure that I end up with the most light here, like around here where my hero is going to be. So I think I'll solidify this edge so that that light comes all the way down there. I really like the way these rocks kind of, can you see what I'm doing? Yes. Diagonally point down towards that. So I'm going to use the fine rock stencil. So there's two versions of this one. There's a finer one and a coarser one. I'm using the fine one up here so that I can use the coarser one with its bigger marks down here to bring these rocks closer, because if something is close to us it appears bigger. So I'm holding that one in reserve and using this one up here. And what I want is to show that sort of diagonal mark making in there. It's not all diagonal, there's some other tricky bits too. So I actually might get this one out first. And there's a bit right there that has that kind of push up. Do I want any more of that? I think I do. I think I want one here on this rock. And if I've got two, it's always nice to have three. Odd numbers are always your friend. I think I want to, which one? The top one? Yeah. So I want to bring that down there and then change its direction and come down there. because that pulls us down nicely there. Okay, that's probably enough of that one, I think. Now let's get into the juicy stuff. So we've got that. So I'm trying my best to find the rhythms of these rocks. This one kind of comes across and then down, but I think I'm getting seduced by the shape of the rock rather than the direction of it. I think it just needs to point at our focus. Oh yeah, that's such a good rock stencil, that one. I love it so much. Okay, so if that's all nice and rocky, up here also needs to point down towards our focus. So do you remember when we're painting flowers, we make sure we point all the stems towards the focus? Same thing here, we're pointing most of the direction of these rocks also towards our focus. Now see what's happening there? I'm tending to get the same size mark because it's most of the stencil. So I'm getting these kind of rectangular patches that I don't actually want. I don't want that sharp edge there, that stop. Okay. Do I want any? I don't think I want it over that side. I think I can, no, I want the big one there. I've got, that's all very dark rock in there. I don't think I want anything as directional as this. Oh, I do think I want to come down here with it. Now look at that. Who was too lazy to clean the stencil? It was me. I do always love to be the cautionary tale where I can and do something that's wrong so that I can show you how to fix it. What type of pencil did I use? I used willow charcoal, not compressed charcoal, willow charcoal. It is indeed a bit cool. You can tell because I'm wearing more than nothing. I mean, all summer I wear as little as I can. Yeah, there we go. Thank you, Bev, for answering that too. Yeah, willow charcoal, not compressed. And definitely not graphite, because graphite is greasy and it will leave little oily marks. It's okay if you're working with oil paint. It's not okay if you're working with acrylic. Never graphite. You can draw with watercolor pencils because they will dissolve into your surface. Do make sure you're using colors that work with what you're doing, not colors that are going to go, oh, hello, I'm a construction line and I'm purple, but nothing else is. Don't do that to yourself. Yeah. Okay. I think that's enough of that particular stencil. I think I want to move on over to the cracks. So this one is P-CRA-001. CRA is for cracks. I know that. So in here, this is very dark rock, but I still want it to have some texture. So stronger texture out there. and a few more solid marks. Who knows? Who knows how much of this I will leave and how much I will end up going over. It's always a mystery to me. I think I want some more of this texture for purposes of balance. I think I want some up there. And again, bigger marks in here. So my whole focus comes down here to my hero. So generally I want the boldest marks here on this line of a third, and then coming away to less distinct marks elsewhere. Need some more goo. Nice. And I think, not sure if I want this one down there or not. I think perhaps I'll just leave it with those two. No, I won't. I won't, because 2 is not my friend. 3 is my friend. So I will get a bit just on the front of that rock. Have I scared everybody yet? Is everybody going, oh my goodness, that's such a lot to follow? It is. It is. This is complex. But you know, I'm sure you're ready for it. I'm really liking how that looks. I just need to step back, take my image with me, and just see what else I might need to do in this very first step. Oh yeah, I need some of this bigger one here on these front rocks. And I want to point how big's that rock? Right up to there. So that one comes across there. Don't want to be caught with that stencil sized shape there, so I'll bring it all the way across to the other edge of the rock. And I think I want some over here too. What's underneath there? Nice. Now that's going to be water there, so a bit of free knife work with my big blade. The big blade, this is my favorite, but when I need longer marks I've got this one. So it's not so, it's only barely in the photograph, this reflected light down there. I am going to make much more of it, because I think at this point my water is going to be brilliant. I think my water is going to be brilliant greens and turquoises. I don't think I'll keep it the colours it is in the photograph. So holding my knife level, actually, after all that fuss, Dee, honestly, I need a small knife to start with. So I want to come in here at the base and Now, this stencil would be great for this as well, but I have got so much wet goop everywhere, it's not an option. I could be patient and wait for it to dry. How about that for an idea? So as these marks, these surface reflections come towards us, they need to get bigger and stretch out. And have bigger gaps between them as well. All right. Didn't quite manage to keep straight there. All right. So, line, tone, colour and edge. We have addressed the issue of line. We have our basic shapes there. All right, sorry. What was I saying? Line, tone, colour, edge. So now we have some lines, which is great. We have started to establish our composition. And we now have two tones. We have our mid-tone that we started with, and we have some light. So that's an improvement. We've added two things. We are not yet at the stage we need to consider colour. That will be next, because we're going to be doing a colour rub on top of this next week. I can't wait. I mean, it's got to dry. We have to wait, don't we? Okay, here we are. I think this is only part 2 of this Rocks and Rivers project. And this is where we're going. And one of the things that's different about this one is that we probably won't do the colour rub all in one go. So usually I do. I like the colours to have a conversation. But I'm thinking this time we still want them to have some kind of conversation. But the beautiful thing about colour rubs is that you can join areas of colour seamlessly, even after one layer is dry, if you leave some bare parts. So I'm thinking what I want to do is do all this greenery and the colours I want to put in the water first, and just maybe not even the greens in the foliage, but just to do that, and then to see how that looks, and then based on how that looks, I want to choose my colours for the more rocky areas, because all week I've been trying to choose my colours for this and I keep coming up empty with that. I just don't yet know what I want to do. So, but I do know what I want here, so that's what I'm going to do. Now, oh, I'm all tangled up in my mic cord. I'm not used to having it anymore. And where is my pebble? There it is. All right, let's get this show on the road, shall we? Okay, I've got to think about colours, and I know I want Australian, yeah, I want Australian sienna, and I want Australian yellow green. These are Matisse colours. I usually use Atelier Interactives, but they don't make these ones. So, you know, just have to tough that out. And I think I want some permanent green light as well. Okay, so if that's all going to go in there, the purple underneath is going to modify some of it down, which will be good. Oh, and I want some phthalo turquoise as well. It's a colour up. We need to get everything ready before the paint touches the canvas. So, spray bottle. I have my wet rags. Let me just check what you're able to see. Oh yeah, okay, we're good. Now these cloths, Chuck's Robust or Chuck's Heavy Duty or J cloth, you want something with a little bit of texture to it. I have tried them with a few different things. The main problem with regular Chuck's cloths is you just don't get enough of a pad of cloth to hold it in your hand. I think this one we can potentially retire from this duty, and so it just gets too small, so you might need to perhaps double them up or triple them up so that you've got enough volume in your hand to hold it while you paint. Okay, it is cold enough here this morning that I have warm water in my bucket. What a treat. I'm amazed what a difference it makes. It's just to make it nicer on my hands. There is no painterly reason that I have warm water. Okay. Some Australian yellow green. Now I'm not painting a massive area right now, so I need to make sure I don't put out my usual super abundant amounts of paint. Bit of permanent green light. Although permanent green light and Australian yellow green are reasonably close in colour, this one, the permanent green light, is a semi-transparent, and that's why I want both of them. This one comes down more to yellow. This one has a bit more green grunt. Is that a thing? Can you say a colour has green grunt? I don't know. And some phthalo turquoise. And do I want a bit of gold? I think I do. I think I want a bit of gold as well. Okay, so Australian sienna, Australian yellow green, permanent green light, phthalo turquoise and rich gold. For that lot, I have my pebble, I have my spray bottle, my canvas is dry. And I think I know where I'm going. All right, winning, let's hope so. It's been a bit of a rough start. So let's start with the gold, just because I generally do. And I'm coming in here, small mark making. Small mark making back here, because it's a way away from us the viewer of this scene, not us the artist. That's a whole different story. Now I think I want some of the gold. I'm using horizontal marks here because this starts to be about the water and making sure I don't make it stand up like a tsunami. Still with the same dirty cloth, I'll go in with some Australian sienna, sometimes over top of the gold, sometimes not. I don't think I want any of that down in the water. Now, new cloth, Australian yellow green. Again, small marks. I'm going all the way into this sky, even though I know I'll be negative painting most of that out. There will probably be some little teeny bits left, little branchy bits coming through. And this green being here will also reflect. Probably not on that rock, but it's there now. Permanent green light. So if I look at that colour, it's greener here, sort of in the middle bit. And in there, that's actually, the water goes all the way out over to there, and this is a kind of cave in there, I've realised. I wasn't quite sure what was going on in there. And now some phthalo turquoise, which only comes into the watery part. Doesn't, can it stand any up there? Oh, maybe just a little. Just to make the colours sing. That's a rock, not water. Why did I put the colour on it? Oh, this cord driving me knees crazy, Miss Daisy. All right, now some water. And a good hard pebble. See how the texture underneath is informing what's happening there. Nice. So now I need to clean that off because I have a great deal of Australian sienna on that. And now I need to make the water happen. So I'm just coming down because the horizontal marks are already there in the texture paste. Now, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to stand right in front of it for a minute because I'm not getting my marks straight. That's better. Just take that turquoise off there because it really shouldn't be there. Okay, that's looking fairly reflective. I'm pretty pleased with that. It'll do. Now, I need to think about what colours are going elsewhere. A colour I often use in landscape stuff, particularly rocks, is a mix of purple and transparent red oxide. So dioxazine purple and transparent red oxide. is a lovely landscape colour. Just getting myself some new cloths here. So probably going to start with that. I think I'll make sure there's a bit of gold in those rocks as well. So some gold. Some those two. Purple and transparent red oxide mixed together. Okay, which makes, I mean, it's brown, but it's a very vibrant brown. Okay, I've got those two. What else? What else can I see here? It's quite pink. Do I want to let it be that pink? Wow, that water's developing nicely. I don't know that I do. I think it'll be pink enough with the transparent red oxide. Or maybe some permanent brown matter, because it's quite pink, but it's more of a landscapey kind of pink. Does that even make sense? Let's have some. Where is it? Permanent brown matter, there it is. So some permanent brown matter, which is a transparent, so that works. And I think some Payne's grey, because Payne's grey is just a nice shadow for landscapes. Okay, so Payne's grey, permanent brown matter, rich gold, and a mix of transparent red oxide and dioxazine purple. And I think that's going to sort me out nicely. Now, because a lot of the light on these rocks has already been put in, I don't have to worry about finding that. It will find itself. What I do need to worry about is tonally, this landscape is very, very dark in here. So I need to make sure I put enough colour in there to make it work for me. And I think I want it cooler in the middle there. So I might even bring a bit of phthalo turquoise back in there. In fact, it's on my cloth, so let's do it first. So in here, and it goes up here too. This is a dark area. So always referring back to my source image for the jigsaw of light and dark that I'm trying to find here. I'm going to lose my drawing of my rocks very much, which is fine, because it was really only there to help me sort out the texture paste stuff. Okay, how do I feel about that? Yeah, I'm liking that. Remember, you don't have to like it much at this early stage. You don't have to like it much. You just have to like it a bit. All right, and there's a whole lot of dark in there between those two rocks as well. Okay, that's enough of those dark colours. Now, I said I wanted some gold, and I think it's coming on these front rocks just to help really bring them forward. A little bit in here too. The reflectiveness of it will work beautifully for me. I need a little more. Always more. I always need more paint. All right, what was I doing? Through here, through up there. This one more here. Trying not to cookie cutter, trying to not make the same mark again and again and again, the mark that my hand naturally makes. And this is all kind of misty up here in the photograph, so I think a bit of gold there will help me with that. Okay, do I want a bit of Australian sienna? I think I might, just to help bring these rocks forward more. So you can see that I'm doing much more painting at this stage of the colour rub than I normally do. Normally it's a bit more, let's just have a crack and see what happens. But here I'm being much more prescriptive. Is that the word I want? Not sure that I like this permanent brown matter on here. It feels a bit like a lot. But so I'm going to stop there with it. And now all the rest of the spaces, get some of this purple and transparent red oxide mix, and they don't need masses of it. Usually with a colour rub I'm telling you to make sure you get lots of it on, but here I don't mind if it's a bit gappy. Okay, now let's get it wet. It's truly looking horrendous right now, isn't it? I'm sure everyone will find that landscapes are more interpretive. So with the flowers, the stencils are doing a lot of heavy lifting for us because they're so clearly flowers. With this, we're being much more interpretive. So I want to think about my rhythm and coming into that hero area. So I think I'll drag the colour in. That permanent brown matter, too pink. So I'm just smashing it a bit, really. Didn't want that there. Okay. I like it. I think this is good. I think this is where I needed it to be. Last little spray of water to get some rocks. There's rocks already, to get some runs. Shoot that back over there. Get out of my beautiful greens. And that, folks, that's it for now. The very first thing I'm going to do is reduce some of the intensity of colour on not many places of this, just enough to show up my texture a little bit better. I feel it's a little bit lost here and there. So that will entail my favourite grunter. So just water, not worrying about the areas with no texture, because I don't want to bring that back to just purple. That would be boring. No. So get it a bit wet. I'm not quite sure if I want that water to be lighter or not. Maybe, I don't know. So I'm looking at where, so here, where are we? We're over there. I think you can see there. Yes. Okay, so this area of rock here, I like the way these edges kind of meld into the background, but I want a little bit more brightness. So it's had a moment for the paint to soften, and I'm just going to use my cloth and just take off some of that and just bring that light back. So I'm going to go through everywhere I think I want more light. I don't want more light there. That is a very dark area, but this edge here, and at the moment I'm not trying to think rock by rock. I'm just thinking of the composition as a whole, really. I think I don't much like all of these runs across the top of that rock, so I'll minimise those. This is why you don't put any glaze medium in your spatter, because if that had had glaze medium in, I wouldn't be able to do this. So I think here too. A little bit of light there, and I think I want this edge. I think that'll pretty much do me. Maybe just a touch there. All right, happy with that. Gesso Soup. Now, Gesso Soup is so named because the first time I did it, I was just using gesso. I wasn't using my half and half mix like I do now. And it was an accident. So there was one area of the painting that I had built up with some texture, and I wanted to glaze on top of it, and it was taking 400 years to dry, and I was annoyed at that. And I thought, well, it's still wet, can't put a brush on it yet because it's still wet. What about if I just sort of spatter the colour on top and then move it around with this water spray? And it was just impatience, like most of my discoveries. And what happened when I did that was the paint falling on that surface made delightful little dots in there, and then the water spray washed it off the high points and into the low parts, and that meant that when it dried properly, which of course took longer because I just made it really wet again, I had the visual effect of that texture without actually having texture that was going to get in my way later on in the painting. And that was pretty exciting, but honestly it was about 1 square inch of this painting, because all the rest was dry, was just this one bit was a bit thicker. So I was pretty excited by that, and then I started mucking around and seeing what I could do with this idea of spatter onto wet paint, and it was amazing. But because I was just using gesso and then I was putting water on top, it did get very, very soupy. These were not canvases you could move. You just had to do it and leave it alone for about 4 days while it dried. And so that's where it got the name Gesso Soup. Since then, things have changed a little bit, and I now use my half and half mix for it, because otherwise it's good in some ways. If you just use gesso, it will dry down almost entirely flat, which is great if you're planning to stencil on top of it. That's awesome. But it also takes much longer. So weigh it up, people. You know, when you're making the decision about are you just using gesso or are you using half and half for this, weigh up your options, because I like the half and half now. I prefer the half and half for rocks especially, because it helps me get some nice sharp edges. And if you don't make your rocks angular enough, they are going to look like potatoes, and nobody needs potatoes in their landscape. Not giant potatoes. Maybe some in your backpack for a snack, but not in your landscape. So for my Gesso Soup rocks, which is what I'm doing today, and this is what is it? It's kind of I think it's the thing you've all been excited about. I think it's the point of this particular workshop, because I'm going to do some negative painting, but not right now. These are positive. What I need is a light, a medium, and a dark, because I'm going to be sculpting some rocks. Sounds fancy, doesn't it? I mean, I promise it's not. Okay, so I want my mix. I was just putting my cutlery away this morning, out of the dishwasher into the drawer, and I thought to myself, do you know what, Dee? We haven't got very many spoons. I need to buy some more spoons. Amazing how we have too many knives and too many forks, but we have very few spoons. I think I know where they might be. I do think I know where they might be. I need a little pile of each. So for the white, oh, you can't see what I'm doing. There we go, that's better. A little pile of white, another little pile to make a mid-tone grey. But then for this third pile, because I want a dark colour, how dark do I want my colour? Pretty darn dark. I'm not going to use my mix. I'm going to use plain texture paste for the dark colour because I don't want to have to fight the whiteness of this gesso to make it dark enough. It would use far too much paint, so I'll just use plain texture paste and put my colour in that. Such a mystery, isn't it? The mystery of the spoons. I think it's a bit like the mystery of the scissors. Okay, so I want Payne's Grey for my dark. There is no particular reason that I'm choosing Payne's Grey other than that it is a dark colour and it's reasonably neutral. I could just go with a very dark grey, but you know, it's me and colour, isn't it? Come on. Okay, so a dollop, and it's a decent dollop, of Payne's Grey into that one, and in this mid-tone one I'd like to use some burnt sienna and some purple because it's a very nice shadow mix. It gives me tone with a little bit of vibrancy, which I want. And I could just use 3 tones of grey, but no, not going to do that. Now that's reading too purple to suit me. So a little bit more burnt sienna. And then I'm just going to use this dirty knife straight into the Payne's Grey because it won't matter. And I might even pinch just a little bit of this white to go in there as well, just a touch, because I don't want this to dry as though it's black. And we all know by now that acrylic paints darken as they dry, yes? All right, excitement time. Now I need to choose a rock to start with, and I think I need to come in pretty close to show you. We might do this bottom one first because it's a rock all by itself. And it'll just help, it'll help me be really clear about the decisions I'm making and why. Come on, microphone. Okay, this rock here. So yeah, okay, we can see it. It's right there. Now, help me not trip over the microphone cord. The legs of the tripod. So when I look at this rock, here is a potato. It's just kind of round. It's just an edge. It's not really anything else. It's just this sort of oval shape. We need to give it some character. I'm going to start with the shadow that's underneath it here, and then I'm going to work up to this light point there. So by having a light point that's within this perimeter, that will give my rock some three-dimensional stuff going on. So I'll pick up some Payne's Grey and some of the mid-tone all at the same time, and I can see that the marks come down and across and down again. So that's what I'm going to do. Nice and chunky. And I don't want to cover up all of my texture underneath, but also I'm not really thinking about that. So I've got a lot of dark in here underneath. So that dark, the dark comes all the way along the bottom there, and there's another edge there. Now I'm going to pick up some of the white, still with my dirty knife, because I want the colours to be having a conversation, and I want this lightness. That's not light. That was the Payne's Grey still on the dirty knife. Come back the other way. So there, and then there. So each rock that you do, you are essentially making a portrait of that rock. Do you see how most of my marks are coming down this way? That's serving two purposes. It's pointing my attention at our focus area, our hero in there, but it's also just the way this rock works. It's the shapes that I can see. It's got another corner here. And while I absolutely do not want to outline it, I do want to catch light along that top edge. Okay, so that's looking about right to me. That's looking like I have enough on that rock. So going to move right along to this little one in the corner here to find the edges of this rock here. So I want to really let that be a very bold raised edge there, and then drag it away. And I don't think I want to continue that, because that would feel too much like an outline. Now here we have some darkness that's actually showing me where this rock just keeps on keeping on. So instead of putting texture paste on this end of the rock, I'm going to put the dark texture paste in there. So that will define it by an absence. So sometimes we are positive painting and sometimes we are negative painting. So that dark all in there. I think I've got enough there, but I've just noticed there's another weeny little thing down here. So I'm going to just get that in. I've done it, I've realised it's too dark, so I'm going to just come across the top with some of that lighter colour. Okay, so I think I'm going to stop there with rock building for the moment, so that I can spatter this and show you all what happens to develop it. I could use I could use any kind of rock colour I could think of, really. I don't want to make it green because they're not underwater, they're not mossy. So I'm looking for a dark colour to use, and I'm probably looking for 2 dark colours to use. So I think purple might be a bit much. Oh, hang on. I just wanted to find the top of that rock. Because it comes, that one comes down, that one comes across, and then, oh, there it is. I can still see my drawn line underneath. Okay. What colour do I want? I think I might want some burnt sienna. But I think the burnt sienna might be a bit too bright. Ooh. I want some raw sienna. I want some raw sienna dark. If I do that, that's quite yellow. And that will bring those rocks forward nicely. So raw sienna dark. So some paint on the edge of my dish and some water. But first I will spread that paint because I don't want to be chasing the paint around the bowl. I'm particularly apt to say that would be chasing a turd of paint around the bowl, isn't it? Okay, so some water. Yep. Always so good when I drop paint and it doesn't end up in my shoes. On my shoes is fine, or on my feet, but in my shoes, not so much. Okay, so I have a very runny mix. It had maybe, what, an inch of paint out of the tube and about, I'm going to say 3 tablespoons or 4 tablespoons of water. And I'm thinking it's a little bit thick. It's a little bit solid because I don't want to obscure what's underneath. All right, so that's one colour. Oh yeah, that's going to work. Now if I have Payne's Grey as my second colour, this is yellowish and Payne's Grey is bluish, and that would make some green, which would be fine, except they're rocks and they're not green, as aforementioned, so let's not do that. So, not Payne's Grey, but something dark. What about red-black? Red-black is a colour that Chroma doesn't make anymore, unfortunately, but you can mix it with some burnt umber mixed with some alizarin crimson. What? The captions are hilarious, are they? Okay. The captions don't always have the best time with my Queensland idiom or my accent. When I edit all of these parts together and put it on YouTube, I download the transcript, which never makes much sense, and then I run it through ChatGPT and ask it to turn it into a translation ready, auto dubbing ready version, and then I check it for accuracy with all the colour names and things, and then I repaste that in so that at least when people from other countries and other languages are trying to understand what I'm saying, they're not they're not having to cope with me being a dick and making jokes and things that perhaps, you know, potentially don't translate very well. But you, as Patreons, you get the unbridled glory. You get me being a twit at full voltage. I hope you love it. It's not like I can be anybody else. All right, so red, black, great colour for this. So, all right, I'm going to have to move. So, don't put your hand in the wet paint, Dee. Okay, I hope you're ready for some excitement here. So I have my 2 little bowls of colour, and I have my spray bottle. Now this is also a spray bottle, but I find that the spray of it is not as robust as my old friend Grunter here, and so it doesn't really do the job I want it to do. Now, with a fan brush, let me just get the electricals a little bit further away. Okay, I'm going to pick up some paint, hold my brush flat. I'm not going to turn my brush sideways because that's going to make all the paint fall off it. So, and I don't want to spatter like that. I want to spatter flat. So, stopping my brush in midair and throwing it. I hope you can all hear it hitting the canvas there. So this is just going everywhere that's wet at the moment. And then the darker colour, I'll concentrate on the darker areas, but it's going to go everywhere. And we're all okay with that, aren't we? And now with my water spray, so I'm being gentle here. I'm just trying to make sure it's not dotty, and I'm washing the paint a little bit off the high points and into the valleys. Now I just need a clean rag. I need to just very carefully, I need to be very aware of where my wet stuff is because I don't want to pick it up accidentally. I'm just depressing the canvas there to force some of that surface paint to run into it. And check it out. What a gorgeous rock. Now, I'm a bit concerned that that paint's going to keep running under there, so I have a little wee canvas here, and I'm just going to pop that under to just lift up the canvas right there. And what that should do is just change the physics of it a bit and keep this paint where I put it. Oh, I love Gesso Soup rocks so much. Check it out, people. So that's some of the texture from underneath. So from our very first layer, that's some stenciled texture right in the middle there. And then there's my free knife work that I've added on. There's some of those gorgeous little dints that it makes in it. Gotta love them, huh? So see how it's a combination of everything that's come before. This whole layered thing, there's a bit I need to just pick up. And I will watch this for about the next 20 minutes and come in every 5 minutes or so and just get rid of any bits that aren't where I want them to be. All right, how good was that? Did we all enjoy it? That is the bones of Gesso Soup. So you've got stuff underneath because you want to make it a bit gappy. You've got stuff underneath, you're building up a textured surface while it's wet, you're spattering that with very dilute paint, so a wash, it's only diluted with water. You're slapping it on there so that you get little rock-like marks in there, and then you spray it with a bit of water just to spread it out. And then you let it dry, and it takes a while because it's thick paint, and you've made it very wet. You've made it very, very soupy. Hello, there's why it's called that. If I was just working by myself, I would have gone ahead and done all the rocks that I could see on that canvas. I would have been careful to not obliterate what was underneath. You want maybe 30 to 50% coverage of your lovely stenciling underneath. And I would have done it all at once, but that's not possible in half an hour. And I really wanted this to be a very clear step-by-step of how to make it work for Gesso Soup rocks. All right, that was an enormous amount of fun. I wish you all the best in proceeding with yours. I will have to let that dry now because I can't stand it up again at this point, and I want to be able to step back from my easel to see how I'm going. So I'll probably let it dry and then I'll do the rest of them. If I have time, will I do them in the week? Probably not. I've got a lot of other stuff going on. But next week we'll go ahead. I will preserve my paint so that it stays wet. I'll have the same colours to work with, and I will preserve my spatter, and I will go ahead and do all the rest. We're good. Okay, so some more rocks and rivers. How exciting. Now, we have spent a lot of time setting up a ground. We've done the texture, like we did the purple, we did the texture, we did the colour rub, we did some stenciling stuff behind that. And now we have to be careful not to cover all that up. So there's a lot of deliciousness there. We don't want to cover it all with Gesso Soup. That's the thing I tend to do all the time. It's just like with mixed media. With collage behind, I tend to cover it all up. Super annoying. I have had to learn how to not do that and to be very considered with my mark making. So that's what we're going to do now. But I did want to show you, so the colours that I used last week are in here, the texture paste, and all I did, so I had it on one palette, I just put another clean palette on top of it, and it's all fine. Look at that. It's all still very wet. It's dried out a tiny bit around the edges of the pots of colour, but it's still good to go. So what I will do is open that up and then scrape off what's adhered to the lid so that it's back in my working piles. But isn't it great that you can do that? It's lasted a whole week. Now, if I start with the lightest colour first, which is the white, I don't even need to clean my knife between, because you know they're already starting to get a little bit intermingled. Yes, a little bit on the edges is dry. But overall, this works. For a week, I don't know if I'd push it too much past a week. And also, at one point, I forgot that I'd done this. And so I was just working on top of my doubled up palette with paint between it, and I'm a little bit amazed that I didn't squish it out all over my trolley, but I didn't. So yay me. that sound, that was just me spraying a bit of water on that because I don't want to take the time to wipe it clean right now. Generally, if you're cleaning palettes, spray a bit of water on them, leave them sit for 5 minutes, and they'll clean much better. If that water is warm water with a drop of detergent in it, so much the better. But if you're going to do that, if you're going to have a soapy spray bottle in your studio, for heaven's sakes, mark it, because you don't want it. You don't want it on your canvas. You only want it on the palettes. Who's here? Who have we got? We've got so many beautiful people. Wow, look at everybody checking in, letting me know you're there. That's gorgeous. Sue is here. Maggie, you're in the Cotswolds. Honestly, that just sounds like a storybook place to me. I love it. I love it that you're here so much. Wayne is here. Excellent. And Wendy and Cherie, Beverly, Deb Warner. Gay has made it. Margaret Marshall has made it. Helen has found us. Excellent. And Trish. Irene is here. And Lynn is here. Good morning, all you beautiful artistic people. Let's see what mischief we can get up today, shall we? All right, so as aforementioned, don't want to cover the yummy bits. So we're always working with the notion that this is the hero. So that means, what does it mean? What does it mean if it's the hero? Doesn't mean that it's wearing its underpants on the outside. It means that our biggest contrasts are going to go there. So our biggest contrast right now, we're working with texture, so it's our biggest textural contrast, our chunky stuff. So you all see how gorgeously this rock has dried with the light, the middle, the dark, the spatter on top, and the little bit of stenciling peeping through underneath. This is our hero. This is where most of the work has to happen. A lot of this stuff, so the knot rocks, that's going to be done with negative stenciling. I'm only worried about rocks today. I don't think I want to use any more stencils. I think I just want to use free knife work like I did down here, down there. So let's have a look at this spot up here first. So all in all, I like the texture. Not real thrilled with the colour. I think the permanent brown matter that I use there is too pink, and I will change that. But that's not a job for texture paste, that's just a job for glazing. I think it is all a bit, like I can see the change of direction, but it's a bit flat. So I'm going to add some ridges, some edges. That's what I'm going to do. Some very strong changes of direction that show us where it's going. Now, I started with white down there, and I will start with white over here as well, because these rocks are more forward. More light, more forward. Back here, I think I'll start with my mid-tone, my pink. So this rock comes down and then it changes direction, and there's a bit of an edge there. So I'm going to roll my knife so that I create that ridge there, and then drag it across just a little bit to continue. And there's another bit there, but it is a touch lighter, so I'll pick up some white as well. And it's got, oh, I didn't want that. Didn't want it so white. And then I think I need a bit of white there too, and I think that edge needs to go back. And that's enough there. Now here, there's some kind of stripy stuff going on in here. So I don't want to go over all that lovely stenciling. Just get those stripes in. I'm going to leave all of that alone. Here, this one over here, there's some texture there, but I think I want to use my mid and my dark for that. What have I got? That big rock underneath, that one bellies out. This is the shadow underneath. Okay. So that just wants its edge controlled a little bit. So I'm thinking in terms of edges and shapes and directions. I'm looking for the rhythm in things. So I'm looking for, how am I doing it? How am I thinking of this? I suppose if I put a little matchbox car on it and let it roll, which way would it roll? No, that's a bit of a terrible analogy. If I'm looking for the thrust, so it's the direction of something. If I'm looking for the thrust of, say, an arm, if I'm drawing a person, then I use the analogy, if I stuck a skewer all the way up through the middle of it, which direction would that skewer point? That's a pretty gory analogy too, but it works for me. But rocks aren't symmetrical. That analogy doesn't work there. You're going to have to leave that one with me, guys, till I explain myself better, because I just don't have the words at the moment. Okay, that one's there, and then this, there's all that dark underneath, which I think I will leave alone. Now I've made a bit of a drawing error here. I've brought this far down, and it actually doesn't come down that far. So there's this kind of rock in the middle here I haven't left enough room for. So that's all right, I'll just shrink it. I'll make a smaller version of the same shapes in there. And that will be fine because it's rocks. Nobody's going to say that rock doesn't look like that rock. Nobody cares. I think that bit over there is fine, and I think this bit is fine. I like that that is smoky and unformed, but I do need a few little jaggedy bits under there. And that whole edge I will need to paint very carefully to get it jagged enough. So just some jaggedy chunky bits under there, making sure I don't cookie cutter my marks, so I don't make the same mark again and again and again. I rotate my knife and I use it full and I use it empty. All that under there I don't think it needs my attention at this point. Now there's this curious little bit here, and it's actually a rock with its reflection, and it's right there. However, I really, really love what's happened there. I'm going to show it to you. I mean, look at that. Is that not gorgeous? Sorry, you're getting a bit of glare there. What about if I come up? See those colours in there? I don't want to lose that. So I'm probably going to ignore that little rock and leave it out. So do you see how I'm treating it like a jigsaw? I'm looking at different areas and just focusing on what I can see, the crack pattern in different areas, and getting that down. And it doesn't matter if I don't find all of the information about that rock at that time. It truly doesn't. I can see a bit I've missed here, so I've let that go up too far because there's another bit in here, but again, I really like what's under there. So I'm just going to just reconstruct that round edge. So it looked more like a feather, didn't it? We're not having that. Now, I think I need to come up. Always try and work with the area you're working at your shoulder height if you can, just because it's so much easier on your body. Oh yeah, I'm in frame. It's all good. Is that in frame? Oh yeah, that's the corner. It's sometimes hard to tell. Let me come in a wee bit though. There we go. Oh, Mundy's joined us as well. Maggie says, this is so cool. And indeed it is, Mundy. Indeed it is. All right. So back to white as my primary colour. So I picked up a little bit of pink first and then the white on top. The pink was, I think, burnt sienna and purple mixed with white. I'd have to check that. So that has, am I in your way? Am I blocking with my body? No. That has a beautifully formed edge. So I'm not going to muck around with that. I'm going to just find that top edge. Now see how terrible that stroke is? It's all mainly white. It's got a horrible hard edge. Doesn't matter because I'm the boss and I can change things around. Woe betide the paint that decided it was going to give me a hard time. And I want all that texture. I think I'll go dark there. I just need to put a bit of form in there. Bit of dark underneath. Making sure I come all the way to the edge of the canvas. And that rock there, I do like the stripiness of that rock. Can you still see that? Yes. So I just want to just give it a little bit more of a top. I'd already decided I'm leaving out the rocks in the middle of the photograph there. That's going to be done with negative painting. I'm ignoring that little one there. I do think I want some texture in that dark area. Just, it's a lot, this area here. So I'll just the trouble with large flat areas is when I put the gesso, when I spatter it with colour, it has nothing to react to. Okay, I'm feeling like that's about right. This edge probably needs to be found a touch, just because I've got that big flat edge there, that big flat area here, and I can see where the edge needs to go, but I've got no texture that's telling the paint where to go. That was too dark. Come in and put some light on top of it. So now just make sure I mix in, because it's settled, this paint. Do I need to add another colour of spatter because I'm further back? I don't think I will. I think in the interests of unity, I'll just keep using the same colours. Remember, if you can't hear it hitting the canvas, you're not going hard enough. Now, what do I want here? That one's allowed to be a fair bit darker. This one, not so much because it's more forward. So a little bit of spatter on that dark bit down the bottom, not much anywhere else. This is darker, very sparingly with the dark colour in here. Oh, and something I always forget to show, I'm going to spatter just with essentially some plain water, because that will create the little holes, the little rock texture that I love so much without darkening all the colour. So in the light bits, I'm just going to grab some plain water. I mean, I'll use my dirty brush. It'll have a tiny bit of colour in it, but not much. Okay, so it's mainly just water, and I can use that on the light bits. All right, and now some water spray, just so that it's not spotty. Totally missed putting any colour there. All right, oh my goodness, it's beautiful. All right, isn't that just completely gorgeous? So the rocks are really popping and everything's developing beautifully. Okay. Yes, Wayne, it does look phenomenal so far, doesn't it? I mean, I always am excited about what's developing, but this one, it seems to me that for very little effort, there is a whole lot of wonderful stuff happening on this canvas. So just to recap, I painted the canvas dirty purple, I did some white stenciling, I did a colour rub on top, and then I did some Gesso Soup on top of that. And that is all that has happened so far. I have had no precision tools on it. I have not done a real drawing yet. I just did, you know, that very, very loose, vague thing to help me position some rocks. I haven't put much hard effort into this, and yet, ta-da! Yeah, I'm pretty excited about it. I love how I've managed to not cover up all of the yummy bits. So I think that's something that we're going really to be looking at today, is how to appreciate what's happened without your intention and without your deliberate placing of it. So much of what I do is about letting the physics of the situation do the thing, and trusting that if you put the right physics into play, the right things will happen. And this is a marvelous example of when that goes very right. It doesn't always, not even for me. And I'm sure for those of you who are entirely new to these techniques, you're going to have some disasters, and that's fine. That's how you learn. Just don't get disheartened by your disasters. If you do a thing and you do it perfectly, you already knew how to do that. You haven't made a step forward in your practice. You're right where you were. But if you do a thing and you cock it up completely and then you learn from those mistakes, that, my friends, is progress. So don't ever be disheartened about it. Having achieved a whole lot with these techniques that kind of do their own thing, we have to haul in the reins a little bit. You can tell I don't write, don't you? What's this? Haul in the reins? Is that, I don't know, something. We have to exert some control over what we're doing. So I have not yet done a drawing on this, only the very loose indications of where the rocks would go. And there's some very specific stuff. So here I have this vague idea of this face, this rock face down here, but I want to actually draw it in, being guided not only by my image, but also by what's happened on the canvas. So I think this point here is a little bit higher, this in here is a little bit higher on my canvas than it is in my source image. But I'm not going to try and change that or fix that. I'm just going to work with it. So I need to come down and look at this negative shape in here and how this part comes out the furthest of the rock. So I'm looking at my angle here and I'm thinking, okay, I'm sorry, you won't be able to see this first bit very well, I don't think, because it's dark on dark. I'm angularizing my lines and I'm just coming out. There's a bit of a curve there, and then there's like a backwards number 3, and then another little pokey bit, and then it comes in quite a long way. Now I can decide to take that in a touch further if I want to. Don't think I do. I think it's good enough where it is. And then we've got a little boop boop. And then it comes down at a bit of a different angle than I have. And then it cuts straight down here. And it allows a little bit of a rock fall to come through the gorge and create a little tiny beachy bit there. And I rather like that. So I'll come down here and create that edge there. So that's my new edge. It's kind of where the old edge was, but not really. So, all right, we have a whole lot of midtones. I sometimes refer to those as the safe midtones because it's something that artists, when they're starting on their art journey, find the very light lights and the very dark darks a little bit scary. And so they stay in the midtones. They don't let themselves get too contrasty. And it's often a thing that I correct in people's paintings. When I'm working on Mastrius, one of the things we do is they send in their images under construction and we discuss how we can resolve. We look at our 4 things, our line, tone, colour and edge, and we find the errors in that and then work out how we can resolve those errors. So if we apply that to this one, we have some errors. Obviously, it's not a finished painting, is it? Of course there's errors. I mean, that's the whole point. You put paint on a canvas, it's full of mistakes, and then you fix the mistakes one by one until you have, what you have left is only the mistakes you can deal with. You never get them all. You wouldn't want to. That would be photorealism. And that is not what I do. I can do it. My goodness, it bores the pants off me. For me, photorealism is you mix up, you do your drawing, you mix up the colour you require, the colours you require, and then you do a patch, the colour you need, and blend it or not as appropriate, and then you move on to the next patch of the jigsaw that is your painting. And you do that approximately 975 million times, and you have a painting. But I find that process not terribly creative and terribly, terribly boring. So yeah, don't do it. I have. I'll never do it again. So, all right, we've got a lot of mid-tones. We don't have a lot of contrast. So what we're going to do is make sure we add some of the light that's missing. So I know I need to add it down here. I will be adding it here, but I'm probably not going to do that, just that, because it's such a big patch and I'm able to hold it in my mind that I know that's going to happen. One of the things that I struggle with is, unless I have some of my lightest lights and my darkest darks in place, I find it very difficult to make good decisions about the level of contrast that's everywhere else. So I want to pull in some darks here to help me work out what's going where. Actually, I tell a lie. I am going to correct those lights now, because while this is really obvious to me, down here is not, and it's mucking up my perception. So I just need some white and a flat. So just an ordinary flat brush. A flat brush has a flat haircut and a flattened metal ferrule on it. And I want to use my half and half mix. I want to use that because this is white too, the Atelier Free Flow, beautifully white, but it sometimes doesn't stand up to layers of wetness on top of it. And I don't really yet know what else I might be doing here. So I don't want to put something down that won't cope with what I do with it afterwards, and the paint might lift and float away. And I don't want that. Okay, so adding in that little bit of light there, bringing it right in along this edge. I'm just using white because it just keeps all of my options open. I need it lighter, so I'm just adding light. And I'm just using my finger to soften in that edge, because I never want anything to look like an actual patch that I've put on there. All right, that's sorted. I'm going to need to bring back that stencil to bring the light there. So it's this one from the landscape set, the fine rock stencil. I want this line to be extraordinarily straight. So I'm just going to dry that off. Now, is it straight? I do believe it is. Which part of this stencil will I like the most? I think I want that bit. Make sure it's straight. Now I'm only coming down not terribly far. Whoops. Stay still. And a little bit into that existing stuff as well, because again, I don't want to patch. And then I wanted a little bit more over that side too, didn't I? And I can see where that rock is underneath, which is good because I need to know. Right over the top. Oh no, it's not. I thought I'd watered right over the rock there, but I did not. Oh, tape off. And now just if some of the paint could come off, thank you, off the blade, always helpful. And now here, I'm just going to come in and just reinforce this, mainly because that was done with a brush, and so it has brush textures in it. Nothing else has been. And so that textural difference is probably going to really stick out. Stick out like prawn's eyes. Ooh, look at the difference it has made just to have some bright white on there, some absolute light. So I've added some light. Now let's get some of our extreme darks in place. I want to be careful here. I don't want to get rid of any of the yummy stuff that's there. So I'm being very, very cautious. I think I'll use Payne's Grey just straight out of the tube because it's here already. I think that's Payne's Grey. Could be blue black. Now it gets super dark down in here, and you can't really see where the water level is. It's just dark all the way through there. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to put in a little bit of darkness there. So baby steps at the moment. Now, we have a lot of horizontal mark making in the water there. If I do horizontal mark making in the rock that's above it, that's going to be confusing. So what I'll do is make sure that my marks are vertical, and that will help us read what's going on. Changing direction of your brush strokes is a very powerful weapon. I do like, there's a little bit of green showing through there, and I rather like it. So at least for the moment, I'll leave it there. Okay, so a little bit of extreme dark there. Here, what have I got? Those two bits of rock sticking out, and there's some dark behind. So I'm going to define that bottom edge. I think I need some more paint. And because I want to keep the rocky look, I want to find my silicone tools, which I haven't used for a wee while. There they are. So my silicone brushes, these are fantastic. If you don't have any and don't want to buy them, you can very often just go to your local hairdresser, and these are very similar to what they use to put hair colour on, and they use them up. They get no good for hair. Or on Amazon or Temu, you can find, if you look for silicone hairdressers tools, you can probably find them there for cheaper than you can find art supply ones. So a little bit of this. Again, I want to avoid the idea of brush marks in there. Okay. how's that? Oh, that's nice. I want it to come down and sort of connect in here, because that's what I'm seeing in the picture. And then that rock, that is kind of becomes part of that one, which is fine. I don't think I want to take it all the way down there, because that would chop off part of my painting. How are we doing? Yes, slowly, slowly. Now there's also a big contour change of direction here, where the rock comes down and in away from us, and then it comes forward again, and that happens about there. Need some more paint. I don't like that sharp straight edge there, so I'm going to drag it down. I can see just barely a little bit of darkness in there. And I think I want to allow this rock to sit forward by coming in with some dark behind it. Oh, I do love the marks these silicone brushes make. These, I got a set of 4 from Amazon for, I think it was about $40. They seem to last forever. I've had mine for a long time. I really love this bit. I don't want to go over that. You'll find that the more you hold your brush up, the more solid the paint will be as you put it down. The more you hold it flat to the surface, the more it will fragment on any little textures that are underneath. And then I think just here, just a little, just to push that down. Okay, so see how it's starting to push and pull? The dark pushes things back and tucks things behind other things. This edge, not yet. It's going to have so much going on there. That needs to dry, and I need to probably glaze the yellowy green colours in there and the bluey green colours in here, so that it doesn't distract me. And then next week we'll be working on some negative stenciling up there, so I'll have to figure out which negative stencils I want to use. That will be fun. Okay, so if we get back to our line, tone, colour and edge, there's just a chunk of paint there that I don't much like. Line, tone, colour and edge. So this morning we have worked with line. We have corrected the drawing where it needed it. We have worked with tone. We have added some extreme lights and some extreme darks. We haven't worked with colour, only that the only colours I allowed myself were already here, or were not colours at all. So white is not considered a colour, it's just pure light. And Payne's grey was here already. So I haven't even thought about the colour theory of it, nothing like that yet. And we have also worked with edge. So in my drawing and in my applying the light, I worked with that very sharp edge there. Having that very sharp edge is one of the ways to define your hero. So where the eye is drawn when you first look at the painting, your main element, your big character energy, that's your hero. Your hero has the sharpest, hardest edges and the brightest edges, which means the biggest contrast between light and dark. That's always in your hero. Your hero, for me, not everyone does this, but I like to work on the line of 1/3. I don't like a hero to be flat in the middle. I like it to be on my line of 1/3, either this way or this way. Or in this case, this whole very complicated bit here, that's the real hero, and that is where my line of thirds crosses over. So perfect spot to have it. All right. And now I have to stop again because we're out of time and I need to wait for things to dry. How irritating. Doesn't matter. I hope that was good. I hope you learned some stuff. It was lovely having so many of you, 17 of you in studio with me. Thank you so much for making the time in your busy day to be here. And I will see you next week. White, don't want it white. I think I just want it some Australian yellow green. Just to knock the white. Yeah, I think that'll be right. So just a little tiny bit of paint and some glazed medium. So I'm just getting rid of this white. So it's just very simple. Australian yellow green and glazed medium. And I like that that's bringing a real glow there too. It was a bit muddy before. Oh, what's Lynn say? Ingenious. Oh, hello. Laura's here as well. Have you got your new little bubba on your lap, my friend? Welcome to the world, little one. How lovely to have two daughters. What a treat. Okay, let's get that in there. Now, I think I might want to just cheer that a bit up as well. It's gone a bit brown. So just loosely in there, because I'm not quite sure what's going to end up left up here, but I know because I drew last week that that's where the rock is. So at least I know a thing. Now here, if I look at that water, it's no help, is it? Because that water is in my imagination, not in the picture that I'm working from. So I think I'm going to go bright, bright turquoise there. Why don't I? Why don't I? Let's just see how it looks, because if it's wrong, I can change my mind. So one of the reasons I'm doing this too is because I don't want that bright white there distracting me. If it's the most obvious thing on the canvas, it's going to prevent me making good decisions elsewhere. Do I need to pebble that? Probably. It looks a bit painty. Yeah, that's better. Sorry. I know when I go over that side I often block the view. I'm sorry, I wasn't paying attention to that. Okay, now if that turquoise is down there, I want to make sure I get some of it just up into here as well. Just because, why do I want to do that? Because I know I have some lovely textures under there and I can see them more now that I've done that. It is time to sort this out. So this is all nice and dry. I need to put some masking tape on. Yes, you can see what I'm up to. Okay, so I need to just find this edge in here and sort it out with tape. Now, if I do that, oh no, I'm not blocking the view, it's fine. So where you have a little sharp edge, it's often good to tear the tape there and start a new piece, because the tape isn't going to go round corners terribly well. Also, it's a rock face. We don't care if it's a bit interesting. In between painting house and painting canvas, I go through an awful lot of masking tape. So I'm just following this edge that I created before. Sometimes I'm using the end of the tape rather than the length of the tape. Honestly, there's no right answers for this. If your tape is too thick, so you know how you can get it in many different thicknesses. If your tape is too thick, this step's super difficult. So of course, I have a range of thicknesses in my studio. Who struggled with this one? This painting, I think, is trickier than anything we've tackled step by step before. And I have no apologies for that. Some of them are harder. And I think landscape is a hard genre as well. Okay, now, all right, I'm all taped up. I'm working this side because over here it's a different story. I can't do both these sides at the same time. And so we decided last week that this was going to be a lovely stencil for these little fine tracery coming off there. Can you see the top of my canvas? You can now. Oh, thank you for letting me know, Lynn. Sorry. Okay, so I think that feels about right, that placement. Lynn, when you said we can't see anything, did you mean my body was blocking the shot, or did you mean that technology was failing us? If you can just let me know, that would be amazing. So that's going to go up there. All right. Oh, hang on. I forgot to put out, I have a little sign that I put on my door to say, shh, I'm filming, so everyone knows to not come in. And I forgot to put it out today, so I'll just put that out. All right, so that's up there. Maggie says it's very tricky but good. I mean, it is, isn't it? I'm glad you're all trying. I'm glad you're all giving it a red hot go, because this is hard. And I have the great advantage that I've been playing with these techniques for years, whereas for many of you this is all entirely new, and I hope that I get down into the nitty-gritty of why I'm doing things enough. I try and explain everything that I'm doing, but if I don't, let me know, because I'm always happy to say it again. Now, that light sky is going to go over there, and it is going to go all the way over to there, but the edge of this stencil is currently in my way, and also I haven't yet decided where that edge is going to be. So I might just draw a little bit first, because this is very vague up here and I need to know. So there's some greenery coming in there, and there's this rock kind of balancing on the edge of the cliff there, and I think I might, I've really only just noticed it, but I think I like it. And it's sitting down about there, but I think I might move it up to there. Because I can, you know, this is my painting, I can make the decisions. So it's going to go in there, can't get to any of it because that first stencil is in place. So, I'll leave it alone. Also, great news, look at this. Marissa has found us some cloths to do colour rubs with that are every bit as good as the ones I have been using, but also they are white. And that makes my heart sing with joy. They're going to be up on the website soon because we found a supplier and we're pretty excited about it. Need a spoon. So, my photograph says that that sky is so close to white. I mean, it's maybe pale grey, but it's very, very pale. I'm not going to do that. I want to echo this turquoise just very lightly up there. I could do it in white and then just glaze the colour into it. That's an option. But I think I'm actually going to do it with just a little bit of turquoise. And I mean a teeny, tiny little bit. I don't want it dark. And why don't I want it dark? Because it's one of the lightest parts of the painting, for sure. But also, if it's too light, I can manipulate that quite easily. If it's too dark, that's going to be a struggle. So a very, very pale turquoise. I mean, it's still very close to white. No, I think I can go a bit more than that. That's better. All right, so starting at this edge and coming out. I don't want to be dragging my palette knife back through here. This stencil is very fine and I will very easily catch the edges of it. This stencil is going to be available in the Jacaranda pack, which is coming soon for our next project. So starting here, dragging out that way. Have your palette knife nice and full. I tend to reload in between every stroke when I'm doing this. In fact, really as a general principle, I tend to reload between every stroke. Now, how far down am I coming? Oh, a bit further. All right. So I don't think I've been too thin anywhere. The fact that it's uneven on the top really doesn't matter. Don't come back and try and tidy that up. You will be sorry. Don't do it. The more you fuss with it, the more texture paste can ooze under the stencil pattern. And when it's so fine like this, it's going to obliterate it pretty quickly. Do we love the magic of that or what? Come back in. This can just be filled up. I don't want that straight edge there. So I'll just come in and change it a bit. Now, what's going to happen down here? That paleness needs to come down more. think I might just pick that same stencil back up again. Or do I want to change it to be this one? No, I think I want that same one. In general, you can get a couple of passes out of one stencil. So is the angle the same? I think I might need to make it a bit more upright in there. Do I? How much? Oh, decisions, people. Yeah, I think I need to come a bit more upright and in there. I apologise for my arm, I need it. Right, now it's stuck down with a bit of texture paste. And come in to that edge there. Don't want to come very far over there because I don't quite know what's happening there yet. Yeah, that works. Now I might just soften that, just because I don't really know yet what's happening, but I know it's not a straight edge. All right. Okay, so this went on first, so it comes off first. Oh, that's so nice. All right, now that that stencil's out of the way, I can have a little draw on this side. Okay. Oh, Marie says it's terrible. Not Marie, Maggie says it's very hot where she is, and it is. It's horrible. So I'm looking at that, and I can see that I've taken the rock over a bit too far. I haven't got room for that nice round rock, so I'm just going to change my mind. I'm going to leave that out there where it is, and then I'm going to change that angle so it comes up and then in, and then the little pokey rock. Oh, that might be a bit convenient because I've already got rocky kind of colours there. Does that feel about right? Let's bring it in just a touch more. Okay, there's my little rock, and then we can come out and out, and then I've got this really sharp shape there, and then the rock is out behind it. So there's some greenery in there. Okay, so I'm understanding much better how that goes now. So I think I probably need to take that side up. Many of my students over the years have said to me that they would very much like me to tell them the next 2 or 3 steps. I hope you can hear in what I'm saying. I don't know the next 2 or 3 steps. It's very much a suck it and see situation. And as I have said before, sometimes it's a lollipop, sometimes it's a pickle. And I don't know. I don't know what I think until I see what I make. Now that's going to be a tricky little soul to mask up. However, I'm the boss. I like the idea with it, with that rock balanced like that. It's going to give me this sense of incipient motion. All right, so I'm down to there. Don't need to go there. Don't need to go there either. All right, it's just that top bit. So, do I want the same stencil on this side? I don't think I want to make that greener to start with because it's not in my image. This is, so where Marissa and I are doing a landscape beta set, so a second landscape set. Plenty of people ask for more negatives, and so we've got some more negatives, and the rest of what I'm using here. 5 stencils isn't enough for me to explore landscape properly, and then I think there'll also need to be a fern set, because ferns are something that you often need, and the whole point of stencils is that they will give you a very tricky shape very quickly. So instead of having to paint every little strand of a grevillea flower, you can put a stencil down and go blit, and there it is. So very tricky, complex things, although Marissa tells me they take a long while to cut on the stencil cutter. She's not necessarily a fan of these very fine ones, but she does them for us anyway. So if I come right in there with it, probably there, because that kind of echoes the shape that I've got. Oh, didn't mix up my turquoise very well, did I? I like that. Now that little rock will be lost unless I come in here and darken, sorry, lighten around it. Should have mixed up more texture paste. So I'm just free knifing in there, coming down to a soft broken edge, run that light just a little bit more down there. All right, let's see what we got. Look at that. So what we have now is this lovely light-filled gap that runs down between the rocks. I'm pretty excited about that. That's absolutely beautiful. There's some marks in the texture paste there that aren't going to help me. They're just where the knife has skipped over the surface and created some very visible ridges. So just get rid of those. Check it out. Are we excited? I'm excited. When am I not? Always excited. Okay, so that's the light, which is always, that's such a thing to find, is the light. What's next? Always, what's next? I need to just step back and do a little reassess. Oh, I like it so much. So I think because this is so light now, I think I want a bit more light coming back in there. And I'll just do white for that. And this one, I think. So this is, I think this is the coarse rock one. I've used the fine one, I think, before. But I kind of want this bit more. Now in my image, the light is just reflecting straight down. But I don't think I want that. I think I want to push it over this way. And as aforementioned, I'm the boss. So I'll do whatever the heck I like. Make sure it's straight. And come in. Now, I don't know if anyone's keeping track of how many times I've revisited this water area, but I think this is 3. Which only matters because what I'm saying to you is don't bother if things don't, oh, I didn't have it straight, if things don't work out the first time you do it. Because sometimes they don't. Now I need to straighten that up. And the best thing to take paint off is a silicone tool because it doesn't smear like a cloth would. Still smears a bit, but it just works better. Okay, so now I've got that light coming down nicely. Very good. And it's time to think about now which positive stenciling will come over the top. So here, on this side, everything is in silhouette. On this side, it's not. We're getting light through the chasm onto this side and it's illuminating the foliage that's on this side. So I will be using this one here, which is part of the landscape set. What is it? Stencil number T-BRA, which would be branch, dash 002 or 002. It's not an I. So I'll probably be just bringing some of those out over top of that when it's dry. I'll definitely be putting some down in here. Which way will I use it? I might ignore the branchy part and just pop that there, bring some of those greens over to this side because that's what I can see. So, can I do that now? Is that scale correct? If I'm using it up in here, surely I need to be a bit bigger down here. So that would tell me that maybe I want to use this one down in here because it's closer to us, it needs to appear bigger. It needs to be bigger so it appears closer. Did that make sense? Yeah, I think some of that's going to work really nicely for me there. Now, which part of it? When I designed this stencil, I made this end big and this end small so that we've got options. And I think I want big on this side and small out there. And I don't think I need to mask that up. I think, where's my masking tape? There it is. I think I'm going in there. But I don't need to mask up that edge because surely I can see that well enough. Do I have a green sludge pot? Ooh. Do I have a green sludge pot? Oh, now I've got options. So sludge pot is just all of my scraps, but it means that because I have a green one, I can make these colours a bit more varied. I can pick up the green that I mixed and some of this sludge pot one as well. Keep away from the edge of the stencil because I don't want to create that sharp edge. Oh, beautiful. Look how rectangular that bit is. What did I do that for? A little bit of free knife work. Nice. So it's a bit blocky in the middle. I'm going to have to play around with that a little bit more. I should have left it gappier. Let's just corrupt it a bit. That's better. By the time I get some glaze on there, you won't even see it. It is a bit flat across there and there's some texture behind. So I can just very gently pick up some of that texture. Stop it being so flat. Stop it being so flat out there too. Okay, that's pretty cool. Now I'll need to cover that green on my palette. I'm just pulling up a bit of texture there. I made it too flat. I'll cover up that green while this dries so that then I can do some positive stenciling right there. All right, I reckon we'll finish this next week. I know I'm always too enthusiastic about when I think we're going to be finished, but I think we are. I don't think there's very much to go. It's getting exciting. I was thinking we might finish this week, and then I realised I'll be putting texture paste on and then that will need to dry before I can glaze it. So that can't happen in one session, which is a bit annoying because I was getting very excited about it. Now, I have my fan brush. What I want to do is look at all the places it's not quite right yet. So here, this edge of the rock is in the wrong place because I've still got green coming through from behind there, and that's not correct. So I'll correct that. I do love, I'm so glad I noticed this little guy. I think that's really cute. Probably, it's a bit green on the edge too. I just need to modify those few things, and I need to bring some of this green down here. So I'm adding rock colours, which is purple and transparent red oxide, or purple and burnt sienna. They're not terribly different. In to correct that, and I'm bringing the greens down here, and I want to bring some green glaze on top of that too. So I'll need my pebble. I think I want olive green. I think I want olive green because it's transparent and because it's a very yellow green, and I'm intending to use it very thinly so that yellowness will show up nicely. So I'll mix it down with a little glaze. And see what I think about that. I think it's good, but I don't think it's the only colour I'll need. So I'm going to bring it down first. See how yellow it goes once it's spread out. Okay, bring it down into there. Bring it up into here, because we don't have sky and then not sky. We have, don't take it there, don't particularly want it there. We have transitions where there's soft foliage and we can kind of see the sky through the foliage. But I don't want to cover up too much of my beautiful sky. So a pebble across the top, we'll push it into the stencil, into the marks that have been made by the stencil, and that'll be lovely. Okay, now that's got to be rock coloured, but I think I'll just control that edge a bit more. That transition from sky to not sky. Now through the week, I was asked for some more information about these. So this is the Jacaranda negative stencil. This will be part of the Jacaranda set that's coming out real soon, and it was the one I used here. Oh, excuse. Pardon me. So that's that one, Jacarandas. This one is part of the Landscape Beta set, which is a big 7 stencil set, and it's here. So it's the one I used on this side here. So 2 different stencils. I have so many stencils. I started making them for me, not for you, and I'm super happy to share them with you. But there has never been a spreadsheet where I keep track of what I've got. Very often I will make a new stencil because I want a particular thing for a painting I'm working on. I mean, I guess that's why there's ended up being quite so many. There are hundreds and hundreds. And sometimes I find it real tricky to keep track of what I've used and what I haven't. So I apologise for that, but also it's not going to change anytime soon. Sorry, I will do my best to make the things available that you need in a timely fashion. And that's about as good as it gets. Sorry. We all know who I am, right? Okay, so that's softened that edge nicely. I think now I want some of my Diox purple and transparent red oxide. Little bit of glaze on the side of the, little bit of paint on the side of the dish. And then the glaze in the bottom of the dish so that I'm in control of the colour I create. So pulling them down just a little bit at a time. That's obviously too purple, isn't it? Doesn't look like a landscape. Well, looks like a Jacaranda landscape. Who's excited about that? I think that'll be great fun. We've got some great paper napkins coming to do our collage layer. I think it'll be very exciting. Okay, that looks about right to me to unify the rock colour. I really like these new cloths that Marissa found for us because they're big and it means it gives me a nice wad of cloth to paint with. All right, so what am I doing? Oh, unifying that edge there. Is it too purple? No, I think it's fine. So finding that edge a bit harder, finding it up here too. And just unifying that a little bit in there. I don't much like that sort of half curved edge there. And I think it just needs a little bit out there too. As you get towards the end of a painting, there are thousands of small decisions that have to happen. And that for me is the part I love the best. But also it's the part that's really hard to share effectively, to show you what's going on in my head. Because man, it's a lot. Okay, so if that is as purple as that there, I think I also want to bring some just down into here a little, because the colour of everything is affected by the colours around it. And I definitely want to soften that edge in. Now, that's not covering nicely. That's telling me that I don't have enough paint in my glaze mix. It's too thin for what I'm doing there. So beef it up with a bit more paint so that when I put it on there, it covers. And then I can take too much off to show you what not to do and pop a bit back on. And see how that edge now disappears nicely into there. Now, this rock here. Okay, see how this rock is lost here? We can't really see it very well. So I'm going to tuck it in behind this rock in front by making it darker. And I don't think I will pebble that because I want that sharp contrast. Where else do I have a problem? Here, I want to tuck this part of the rock in behind this. So this is Diox purple with transparent red oxide mixed with it and glaze medium. Now the top of that rock I can define by just pulling that colour along there. I might have been a bit ham-fisted, it might run, but let's see what happens. Okay, in here, I think I want a bit more depth. This looks a bit nothingy in there. So again, I'll let that pale colour be forward and I'll tuck down behind so that I get a step back. There's no particular reason about when I pebble and when I don't. If I do it and I like the way it looks, I leave it the heck alone. If I don't like the way it looks, then I'll pebble it. Sometimes that means I have to then repaint it because I've taken off too much. There's that little one. That's so cute, that little rock. I'm very, very in love with that rock. And I think here too, I want a bit more depth of tone out there too. So I'll swipe on some nice stripy bits. So that just unifies. Oh, it's looking pretty good. Here, I think this colour isn't dark enough. I think when I put it on in the first place, I didn't have enough paint in my mix. And I fixed it for there, but this is still not right. Nice and jagged because they're rocks. Don't like that, Mark. See you later. And that's a bit all by itself, that bit there. So I'll just give it a friend here with some darker colour that kind of pushes in with it. I'm trying to push right in there. So that that whole section goes back all by itself. Well, that's pretty cool. All right, happy with that. Now, that sky, not so happy with that. Don't really know what I want to do with it just yet. That was just some runs that I was picking up. And that's a bit blobby there, that end, so I'll just disappear it up there. All right, let's get some distance and see how that looks. Remember, anytime you put something down that's got paint on it, put it in water. So let's just come in and have a little bit of a better look. So we're starting to get some nice variety in the tones. So in the nuance, this is the time of the painting that's all about nuance. Now, don't like those runs. Generally, I'm fond of a run, but you know, you've got to be a bit careful. They can overwhelm a painting pretty easily. I want some more foliage there, and I do think the sky has to be lighter at the top to balance that. I think I put too much turquoise in that colour. Ha ha! Gotcha, you sod. All right, there it is. So if I very carefully position that back exactly where it was, it kind of does eventually fall into the cracks that you've created the first time round when you get it exactly in the right spot. I'm not going to pretend it's easy to do though. So with that stencil back in place, the stencil protects what I did earlier. Can you all see that, or am I up too high? Whoop. Let's go right up there. And I just really need to mix up some more half and half. So I'm just getting some white so that I can come back in on that edge. Keeping it pretty scrappy out there and nice and firm on the edge, on the rock edge there. Oh, that's better. So this in the water, I've moved my water dish so that it's all a bit easier. My new cupboard allows that. So some more white over there. Just some free scratching out here with a little bit of white, just so that, again, I soften that edge. So we're at the wonderful part of the painting where we start controlling edges. I've used glaze to control some edges, and I'm generally speaking, is that the word I wanted? No. in general, there's some edges that I'm firming up and making harder and brighter, and there's some edges that I'm softening down. I don't think I want to bring that white down much further. I do want just a little in there. And I don't like that hardness there. Okay, see how nicely that now is echoing the brightness there. And I think I have enough white there. I don't, maybe just the tiniest little bit. Right in the middle there. Oh, that looks nice and wet. Yeah, good. Okay, so I'm pretty pleased with where that's sitting now. I do want to do a bit of foliage. So there's some options. There's some little bits growing over here in the corner, and there's some little bits that can soften that edge there. Now this is where I get to play with the scale of things, because if I choose a stencil that's big, it's going to change the way things feel. It's going to bring this closer or further away. It's going to make it look either giant. So if I imagine if I put some palm trees in there growing up here, suddenly this would be a mammoth rock face. Not saying I'm not going to do that. At the moment it feels kind of mid-sized to me, and I'm happy with that. But before I do this, before I do any more foliage, I think I want to finish that bit. So it's just raw texture paste at the moment with, when I say raw, I mean it's been put on, it's been allowed to dry, and it hasn't been developed with any glazing or glossing. That's what I mean by raw. And I never like how it looks. I do believe I need to calm its farm. It's very bright. So perhaps some green black in some glaze. Oh yeah, that'll be lovely. And particularly at the bottom, because the bottom part of a bush, a shrub, will necessarily not catch as much light as the top. So if I start the glaze down there and then drag it upwards, it gives me that shape I want. Just a little bit there. And then here where I want to kind of tuck that one into the cliff face a bit more, I'll do exactly the same thing. So some green black in glaze at the bottom there. And then drag it outwards. I can't drag anything there because that's wet texture paste. Don't want to be that silly. I think a bit more of this depth to tuck that water in there, and to tuck it in on this side as well. And to show us what is rock and not rock. So rock and water in this case. So I guess that's a principle that I'm using quite a lot, is sky or not sky, rock or not rock. The idea of where something stops, and it's therefore we show that by a change in tone or a change in colour temperature. Oh, so gorgeous. Man, I'm so happy with this. I think I might have a little bit of greenness out there too, just because I think it's still a bit see-through. And perhaps I can suggest the foliage that I want up here by just putting a bit of green on there. I think that was the wrong green. I think I actually want olive up there. Let's go back to the olive up there. That's better. So just to suggest that foliage. I'm really second guessing whether I want to put anything in there. I think it is working quite extraordinarily well without it. Maybe I'll just do a little bit of scatty mark making rather than stenciling anything in there. Maybe I'll just suggest with some little tiny mark making. Sometimes a stencil is not the correct answer. Oh, I do like that. And then there's just something not quite right there. Now, in the original image, there's a rock fall there, but I don't think I want the rock fall. I think I might just bring in some more light there and see how that looks. So just a little bit of light. And because white is a very cold colour, I think what I'm going to try and do is just put the tiniest little bit of transparent yellow in there, just to warm it up. Not enough, not so much that it looks yellow, just to take that cold edge off it. And then oh yeah, beautiful. Yay. Well, oops, it's a great big green run down there. Nobody wants that. I'm going to call that done, people. Wow, let me just step back and have a look. All right, what do we think? I'm so pleased. We did get finished today. Yes! Ha ha! All right. Done. Didn't need more stenciling after all, which I was convinced I did. But then in the end, it didn't need it. All right, I am so happy with that. I'm so excited to have finished it. I'm going to just let it dry because things change a little as they dry. I'll let it dry and then I'll decide if it needs any more touch-ups, but I don't think it does. I think it's good. Rocks and rivers. Rocks and rivers, we have sorted you out.